Wong with news from here in Taiwan and around the world. Typhoon Wong has made landfall in the Philippines this weekend, killing at least 2 people. Now the destructive storm is headed to Taiwan, where the eastern county of Hualien has sounded the red alarm and ordered evacuations. Irene Lin has more.
The once famous island retreat in northeastern Philippines was submerged by huge waves in a split second. Typhoon Wong, the second typhoon to hit the country in 2 weeks, made landfall on Sunday, killing at least 2 people and displacing close to 1 million residents.
I was not able to sleep last night. I told my grandchildren to pray for our safety. I was just sitting the whole night waiting for the storm to pass.
The typhoon has moved on from the Philippines and is now heading toward Taiwan's southwest. While still a few thousand kilometers from Taiwan, the storm's outer edge has already hit the country's east. In Hualien, where past storms led to a barrier lake breach and flash floods that inundated homes and fields, authorities have sounded the highest level alarm and called for evacuation in 3 townships along the river on Sunday. The forestry agency, which monitors the barrier lake, predicts the region will have up to 800 millimeters of rain per hour, far exceeding the 200 millimeters required for the red alert. And with water levels nearing that of September's disaster, officials aren't ruling out the risk of another flood.
极端的情况之下，预测淹塞湖会发生的状况，雨量的水会下来之外，可能在上游会形成新的淹塞湖。我们预估的最大水量大概是1500万吨。
After over a month and a half since the flood disaster, most of the town has been cleaned up, but local residents fear that the looming storm will cause new destruction.
你看，我们有的家里都整理好了啊。
Meanwhile, in the southeastern county of Taitung, rice and banana farmers are rushing to harvest their unripe crops before the storm causes irreversible damage. Typhoon season in Taiwan usually ends in October. If Typhoon Wong makes landfall, it will be the country's first November typhoon in nearly 6 decades. With extreme weather events becoming more frequent and disastrous, it's a never-ending cycle of cleanup and recovery for the Pacific Island countries. Tsai and Irene Lin for TaiwanPlus.
High-level current and former officials from Taiwan have made back-to-back visits to Europe in recent months. It comes as Taipei seeks closer ties with the region and pushes back against Beijing's efforts to isolate it. Cadence Kronta has more.
Former Taiwan President Tsai Ing-Wen arrives in Germany just a day after Taiwan's Vice President Bi Kim-hsiao returned from her breakthrough trip to Brussels.
同盟怎么看跟肖美琴接力访欧，台欧关系是不是越来越好，越来越紧密？
我们大家继续努力吧。
Tsai will give a speech at the Berlin Freedom Conference on Monday, which she said she hoped would help strengthen Taiwan's partnership with the country. Taiwan has been working hard in the region. These back-to-back visits are part of the country's broader efforts to deepen ties with Europe. Last Friday, Taiwan's vice president gave an unprecedented speech inside the European Parliament at the summit of the Interparliamentary Alliance on China, or IPAC, a forum of lawmakers concerned about China's global threats, calling for continued support for Taiwan and for democracies everywhere.
We don't just want to survive, we want democracies to thrive. We're not just defending what we have, but building what we want the future to look like.
This was a huge deal for Taiwan. Most European countries do not have formal diplomatic relations with Taiwan, instead choosing to recognize China. They frequently face backlash for any interaction with the Taiwanese government, as China claims Taiwan as its territory. So allowing a sitting Taiwanese vice president to visit, let alone give a public speech in parliament, is rare to say the least. Taiwan's foreign minister, Lin Jialong, who also made 2 visits to Europe in September, to Italy, the Czech Republic, Austria, and Poland, said it showed Taiwan-Europe ties are entering a new phase. Taiwan's focus on the region comes as China increasingly tries to isolate it diplomatically, poaching its allies, with several cutting ties with Taiwan in recent years, and only 12 remaining. In a speech at the Warsaw Security Forum in Poland, Foreign Minister Lin called on Europe to stand with Taiwan against authoritarianism.
And today, authoritarian regimes, mainly China, Russia, Iran, and North Korea, have formed an axis of upheaval to challenge the rule-based international order. And China is largely seen as the decisive enabler behind Russia's invasion of Ukraine. As a result, democracies around the world must act in concert to counter the existential and systemic threat.
As Taiwan seeks to deepen its engagement with Europe, each visit, from the vice president to the former president, shows a growing resolve to forge partnerships despite pressure from Beijing. Klein Wong and Cadence Quaranta for TaiwanPlus.
Japan has condemned a Chinese diplomat's violent remarks about Prime Minister Takaichi Sanai's support for Taiwan. That's according to local media reports. In a since-deleted post on X, Xue Jian, the head of China's consulate in Osaka, called Takaichi a disgusting head that he wouldn't hesitate to chop off. Xue made the comments after the Prime Minister told Japan's legislature that an attack on Taiwan would be grounds for Japan's self-defense force to mobilize. It comes amid growing concerns in some Asian countries about China's coercive activities around Taiwan. Xue later posted that Japan's discussion of a Taiwan emergency amounts to meddling in China's internal affairs. Some Japanese lawmakers are now calling for his removal. Economy Minister Gong Ming-shin says trade talks with Washington are continuing, even as the U.S.'s top court weighs limits to President Donald Trump's tariff powers.
对台湾来讲的话，我们还是要持续跟美国去谈的哈。主要的理由是你也可以看到，它有一些本来是对等关税的项目里面，它要搬到232去。
Section 232 of the U.S. Trade Expansion Act affects most of Taiwan's top exports, especially chips. Gong said that Section 232 negotiations are the government's current focus. The U.S. Supreme Court recently heard oral arguments on whether Trump exceeded his powers by imposing so-called reciprocal tariffs on many countries, including a 20% rate on Taiwan. But even if the court cancels those blanket rates, it would not affect any levies imposed through Section 232. Northern Japan is facing an unexpected and dangerous visitor. Bears are moving into towns and villages, turning once peaceful neighborhoods into danger zones. Leslie Liao has more.
In 2023, pastry chef Minatoya Keiji was attacked by a bear outside his garage.
The bear knocked me down like this, and I fell on my side. Then it came at my face here, so I blocked it like this with my hands.
Minatoya was one of the lucky ones. He managed to survive. But for over a dozen people this year, that has not been the case. Now, the 68-year-old is calling for more extreme measures.
If people are thinking of them like pets, of course the idea of animal protection is important. But the reality is that people are being attacked. And there are already several who have died. So I think at the very least, when bears come into town, they should be culled.
Bear attacks are becoming more prevalent in this part of Japan. In mid-October, a nursery school had a close encounter with a bear while 40 children were inside. Sato Junko, one of the school's employees, recalls the harrowing encounter.
It looked like it was banging on the door, so I felt a real sense of danger.
Bears have started venturing into areas where people live, a problem that's been growing since 2023. Normally, they stay in the mountains, but stronger bears are pushing weaker ones out, forcing them into human territory. There, they breed near villages and are used to human activity. Once shy and timid, these bears are now more aggressive and are more likely to attack people. The situation is so serious that Japan has deployed soldiers to keep them under control. Stores now have dedicated sections for bear protection equipment. Everything from shields to bear spray is on sale here. Locals say bear sightings are happening almost every day now, and the problem is getting worse. In this part of Japan, humans live alongside nature, but what once was peaceful harmony is slowly becoming a hostile imbalance. Ryan Wu and Leslie Liao for TaiwanPlus.
Taiwan is set to ban captive animal shows, becoming one of the few countries taking steps to protect animals from both physical and psychological harm. But what about the dolphins already living in captivity? To find out whether they can be safely returned to the wild, our reporter Sandy Chi sat down with Lindong Liang, CEO of the Kuroshio Ocean Education Foundation.
So in the future, there won't be any dolphin performances. And we're just wondering, where will the dolphins go? Can they return to the wild, or will they stay here in the ocean parks?
这真的就是一个最艰难的课题，因为当我们要选择结束表演这件事情，它感觉好像只是一刀两断的结果，但是对于这些动物来讲，它的生命是持续延续下去的，所以对它的照顾来讲，其实就是很大的挑战。那通常我们在看待这件事情的时候，动物接下来会该如何是好呢？很多人的自然的思考就会说，是不是有机会野放，把它们再放回到大海去啊？那本能应该是可以帮助它们能够再次的回到大海。但是其实我们在过往的一些科学的案例中，就是会知道它需要做评估。那最基本的评估就要评估，第一个就是它的生命年龄，它从出生到现在它已经大概几岁了。那这个年龄有很大的关系，就是比如说人类的年长的长辈，在对于长途的跋涉移动的需求下，他可能体力上或者是精神上，他可能没有办法那么好的维持下去。那这就是一个大的挑战。那再来另外一个条件就是说，它被圈养的时间长跟短。对，如果它圈养的时间已经很长，可能10年、20年，那这个相较起来的话，它可能已经形成了一种惯性。那这种惯性就是它可能失去了一些能力包括像是去捕捉鱼的能力。
Some people say that you can actually release them back into the ocean in, let's say, a circled area. Is that possible for the dolphins in Taiwan?
目前从很多的专家学者提到的意见来说的话，它最主要就是台风的风险，因为台湾就在一个就是多台风的地方，那这些动物它如果被固定在一个范围内，但是这个范围内可以做的保护的措施又不够多，但台风来的时候，那个浪的影响很可能反而会让这些动物变得是很动荡、很受伤。对，因为只要浪的能量进到这个庇护区之中，那没有办法对这些动物做比较好的保护的话，那很有可能它就会在里面不小心的因为浪来了，然后撞击到礁岩还是怎么样的状态下受伤，那可能会是另外的后续的影响。所以台湾目前应该是有想要做评估说有没有地方可以被选做这个庇护区，但是并没有真的是目前还没有真正的发生啦。
As you mentioned, it definitely depends on how long the dolphins have been kept in captivity. But recently in Yelio, there was this baby dolphin there being born. What about that dolphin? Can it return to the wild?
这个其实就是很困难的问题，就是小海豚的诞生，特别是它在园区里面诞生，它很可能就是得要在这个园区里面终老。对，因为它没有经历过外界的这个自然环境，所以它要去也放回到自然环境之中的成本或者是训练等等各种可能性是非常低的，然后或者是成本是很高的，所以这件事情是困难的。那它后续很可能就只能够往就是在园区内好好的照养到终老这样子的方向。对，但是因为在人工饲育环境下的新生的这些鲸豚，他们其实到目前来说，因为它野柳的大概也才1岁2岁左右，对，它其实都还不是很稳定的状态，都还是有可能会因为一些疾病病变，然后就突然间的就死亡，也是有可能的。这是很多人为的环境、人工饲育的状态下会发生的事情。
That was Lindong Liang from Kuroshio Ocean Education Foundation. You can watch the full interview with him on Zoom In Zoom Out, available on the TaiwanPlus website or YouTube. Thank you for watching What's Up Taiwan. Finally, let's head to Germany to explore an exhibition where visitors sniff their way through centuries of history. I'm Tiffany Wong. Take care and see you next time.